Well, there it is. Pretty big box. Start taking the staples out of it. Okay, well, we've got the staples out. So we have a box inside of another box. All right. So there we have it. What do we say here? Must be upright a minimum of 4 hours prior or turning unit on. Proper ventilation must be provided to the compressor and condenser. Failure to ensure both above mentioned may damage compressor and warranty. Okay. And there you have the info for truck fridge. And here apparently is the heart of the system, the famous Danfoss compressor, 12 volt compressor refrigerator. Now the question is the size going to fit? Well, I took a tape measure and I measured side to side, and the dimensions will fit comfortably in the enclosure of the Dometic refrigerator. I measured from the front of the refrigerator to the back of the refrigerator, and also from right here, which is kind of where the refrigerator mounts, and that too fits comfortably. So now it only remains to see if it's going to fit vertically. When you open this box, if you happen to get one of these fridges, the first thing to do is, after opening this outside carton and then the inside carton, is to make sure you cut these straps so that you can grab them. Okay? The reason for that is you can grab these straps on either side and the other sides. There's two more over here. You can grab these straps and lift the refrigerator straight out of this box. That way you don't have to tip it and, you know, go through all this procedure here. You can just lift it straight up. It arrived to me this side up, which FedEx usually does a pretty good job of doing that kind of thing. So anyway, just remember, don't pull these out. Most people will yank these out, but don't do it. Leave them in place. That way you can use them as a handle to remove the refrigerator from its outer shipping container. Good idea? Thanks, Rich. Okay, here it is out of the box. Looks pretty good. And I measured the height, and it will fit exactly where the Dometic is coming out from. Let's open it up. You want to? Let's see what this sucker looks like inside. Whoa. Man, that's white. That is some kind of white in there. So there's a big rack down here, kind of an egg rack, or Yeah, I'd call that an egg rack on top. Cans in the middle, and maybe up to a quart or so in the bottom. Look at that. It's got a, what's this? It's a kind of a crisper bin. That's cool. The shelves slide in and out, and they have this little flip over part here. There's two of them, so you can put taller bottles right in there. There's a little bit of room up here, small rack. Of course, there's a light and the off, on, and temperature setting controls. There's the truck fridge information. And there's a tiny little fridge right here. And I love the fact that the door is magnetized. The door on my Dometic, I keep in place with a little piece of carpet wedge to hold it in place. But this is pretty cool. It's never going to wear out. It's not a spring or a clamp or anything like that. And it's a pretty good size freezer. I mean, I can keep some stuff in there. And I like the fact I have both a freezer and a fridge. So there's a stopper on this shelf here to keep it from coming out. This shelf, there isn't. I took it out and moved it down here. And you can move this shelf to different positions. Which is nice. You could just undo that screw and move the top shelf to a different position too. But I think, yeah, I think this is going to be a really nice fridge. It looks well made. And out here, I'm guessing that this hinge setup is such that it can be reversed. There are holes over on this side, and I'm going to just check and see, but it looks to me like the door is reversible. There are a couple of lock screws here that could be unfastened, and this handle slid over here. The posts of the door, if we look at the top of the door here, we see the hinge post here is probably the same as the hinge post over here. So I'm thinking the door is probably reversible as well. For my purposes, it'd be nice if it was, because my refrigerator doesn't open from this side. It opens from this side over here. So if I can reverse the door to over here, it's going to be quite a bit more convenient for me. This way's fine if it doesn't, but it looks to me like it does. So that'll be great. Hold down and open. That's easy enough. Hold down, open. That's easy enough. All right, so let's get about taking out the old one and putting in the new one. All right, so the first step is cleaning out the fridge and taking all the contents away. And then I'm thinking we're going to start by unscrewing these screws here. That looks like what's holding the refrigerator in place. I've already disconnected the propane, and we'll go from there. These little buttons right here around the fridge, they just kind of They just kind of pry out like so. Oops. To reveal a screw head that Roadtrek uses a lot of. It's kind of a square screw head. I happen to have one in the tail end of my screwdriver here. So I'll just go around and take those out and get back to you. Okay, so in order to get to two of the mounting screws, one down there and one up here, I had to take the door off of the dometic, which just involves a bracket and a couple of screws that go in those holes. So easy enough, and with the door off, the screws are much easier to access. I can see one mounting screw in here that needs to come out right there on that bracket. There, that's a better shot of it. So one screw right here on this bracket. I don't see any other screws in this compartment back here that are holding anything in. So I'm going to take that screw out and see what happens. Alright, so we're at the part that's extremely extremely difficult. It's kind of like the air conditioner. These appliances that Roadtrek puts in, they're putting these things in for keeps. They're not planning on removing anything, because this is just a horrendous nightmare. But I'm making progress, so it's just slow and steady wins the race. I'm just going to keep up doing it, and gradually this thing's going to ease its way out of here. Okay, so this is my technique for getting the refrigerator out of its place. I used a pry bar to get me some space around here. Okay, so I've got a gap developing between the drawer space and the refrigerator. You can see it's quite a gap. And this is what I do with that gap. I take a stick, I put it in here, and then I pry the refrigerator out a little bit at a time. You can see I'm making progress on it. That way it's wood on wood. I'm hopefully doing as little damage as possible to the wood framework inside the van. I'm trying to be careful. And there it is. The dometic refrigerator has been removed. Oh my God, what an ordeal. But not bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a difficulty of 5. You just have to worry it out, that's all. And try not to do too much damage in the process. I did a little, but that's to be expected. Overall, I didn't hurt anything too much, and the new one will go in and probably cover up all those little defects that I have. I had a little nest of something in here, so I vacuumed it out, but it's all ready to go now. All right. There it is, installed. I have a few minor details to deal with. I'm going to get a little piece of trim for above the refrigerator to clean up that area there where the old refrigerator had some cutouts. This one's nice and smooth, so I'm just going to get a piece of veneer or some trim to cover that up. outside, I just temporarily wired it up. I'll show you. So there's the fridge. The compressor is at the top with the fan, so this vented area here is going to work fine for a vent. It needs to have a vent, and it has one up here. So I just temporarily pinched the wires together and grounded it. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll be quiet. So back inside now. We'll take a little look inside. I moved the handle from over here to over here because my refrigerator opens this way. And as you can see, there's a little light. And the freezer is definitely already, I can't leave my hand on it, it's so cold. Yeah, it's like putting your hand on snow. That's how cold it is already. And it's been running about, well, since I started this section of the video, maybe 3 minutes. So yeah, I think it's going to get very cold very quickly. And right now, I am very pleased with the results. It was not that hard to put it in. I will say that this refrigerator fits exactly the space that I had. I didn't have to make any modifications. I just slid the old refrigerator out and the new refrigerator in. But I'll tell you, it took two of us shimmying this thing in, and definitely there's no gaps or space to spare. It's absolutely spot on in terms of the dimensions. I couldn't have cut an opening any closer than this is. This is definitely a perfect fit. Alright, so to wire up the refrigerator, you're going to need a crimping tool, a butt connector, a ring eyelet connector. In my case, I need that special square nut to mount a screw that has a square nut head on it, a drill, and in my case, a 1/8 drill bit to drill the hole to put the screw through. So that's it. Those are the parts you need. Alright, so in addition to the tools, you need to clean off a spot to make a good ground. I've cleaned a spot off there. And we're connecting 3 wires. We're connecting the positives together, and then we're putting the ground wire to ground. And that is all there is to the wiring in the Roadtrek. So there I've drilled the hole for the screw for the grounding strap. As with almost any job, having good tools to do things is better than having crummy tools to do things. In this case, I've got a Klein Tools crimper. This has been around with me for a long time, as you can see. And it does a good job of crimping these cable connectors onto the end of your wiring. Now, I'm not going to do this operation for every single connection, but I'm going to show you what happens. You strip off about 1/4 of an inch of wire and put it into the terminal, or whatever type of terminal you're using. This is marked, and you can see the 10-12 marking. That's the size of this connector. So I can see my wire just peeking out of the end there. That lets me know it's all the way in. I just go back a ways behind the wire, and I always do it across ways like this. That way I'm pinching the wire, and I just apply some pressure. It's not something you need to be Hercules, as you can see. Spindly old me. I'm not Hercules, and I can do it and make a positive, tight connection. You always want to check and make sure it's tight, and you can see there. We'll get a little closer. You can see that it made a nice crimp on that connection. Okay, so that's it. Now we're going to connect this wire where we drilled that hole inside of the compartment behind the refrigerator.
So there we have our nice ground connection made right there. And now we're going to make our power connection.
Here I've crimped the one side of the power lead, the one coming from the van. The one coming from the refrigerator will go in the right side there. We'll do that in just a second.
So there we have it. There's our wiring. All nice and complete. We have our shiny new brass cap on the propane connection, so that that cap will seal off the propane that was formerly going to the refrigerator, and now it just continues on back and goes to the furnace and the water heater. The stove is obviously forward of this, more towards the cab of the vehicle. So that's it. We're done, and the little fridge is buzzing along quite nicely. I don't know if you can hear it. Anyway, that's it. Okay, now back here at the panel, this is where the refrigerator is going to get its power from the battery. This is where things get a little wacky for me, because I'm not an electrical guy. This is the fuse for the old refrigerator. This wire is the wire that connected into that lug right underneath that fuse that provided power to the Dometic refrigerator. Now, when we are plugged in to shore power, the former Dometic refrigerator would be switched to electrical power, 120 volt AC power. I need to run it on a 12 volt circuit, not a circuit coming from the battery charger and the battery. This voltage is variable. The old Dometic had a voltage regulator to take whatever's coming into it and turn it into 12 volts. The new refrigerator doesn't have that. It has an expectation of receiving 12 volts. So, in order that it doesn't get too many volts and do harm to itself, we need to find a 12 volt connection that, whether plugged in to the
shore power or operating on the battery over there, the 12 volt house battery, it will be getting 12 volts. Well, down here, this circuit, which was formerly for a television set that's not in the Roadtrek, that circuit is suitable for our use. It's 12 volts. Just like a 12 volt TV would have a 12 volt power supply that you'd plug into AC, well, you can wire it directly to here, and that acts as a 12 volt power supply. So we don't want to connect it to where the refrigerator was. We want to connect it to a stable 12 volt power supply, which is this connector. This wire I'll cap off and just leave in there, but I'm not going to use it. The wire connected to the refrigerator, I'm going to transfer from this spot here and move it to here. Solar panels can be hooked up to the battery. Anything can be hooked up to the battery, and this will automatically adjust and give us the output that we need for the input to the new refrigerator. I hope that makes sense. I know it's kind of long and involved, but I want to make sure that people understand what's going on here. So now you can see I've got that TV wire disconnected. I moved the refrigerator wire from post number 6 over to this last post over here is regulated. So this post here, number 6, would just ramp battery charger current into the refrigerator. I don't want to do that. I want it to be filtered and controlled to 12 or 13 volts, which is safe for the refrigerator. Now we're going to look, I've got a meter connected to that connection, so we're going to check the meter and see that 12.96 volts, 13 volts, that's good. Now let's see what's coming into the battery. Over here, we can look and see, well, this meter might be a little off, but right about the same amount. 13.2 is coming in. And if we look here at the circuit breakers, the battery charger is charging the battery. The battery charger circuit breaker is up and allowing current to go into the battery. So it looks to me like everybody's happy where they are here. And if we go over to the fridge, let's see if we can hear it. Can you hear that? I can hear it here. Hear that? It's running fine. So we're going to disconnect our meter and tighten up the screw holding the wire in. And I'm going to get a wire nut and cover this wire. So there we go, I got a wire nut. We'll just screw that on there and tuck it back out of the way. Just to recap, with the refrigerator connected to this lug over here, I can plug the battery charger in, charge the battery, get a charge working on the battery, and run the refrigerator at the same time. Then when I disconnect from shore power, this lug draws energy directly from the battery,
and the alternator is doing the job of recharging it. When I park and I'm away from shore power and I deploy a solar panel, the solar panel is charging the battery, which in turn is sending power to here, but only in the 12-volt variety, not just unregulated power. It's 12 volts, and that makes the refrigerator very happy. So we'll keep the refrigerator happy, and it'll stay cold, and I'll be able to snap open the lid on a cold beer and enjoy it later on.
Electrical stuff, that's not exactly my cup of tea. I hope that makes it clear that the refrigerator needs to be connected to 12 volts, controlled, regulated power, not just unfiltered battery charger power. That converter is both a converter and a battery charger. So it's important that you find on that bar 12 volts of power. People that have done their own builds, well, they're using a solar charge controller, which is putting the right amount of voltage into the battery. It's smart enough to figure that out. And then from the battery, you're getting the 12 volts of power that you need for the refrigerator. And the charging system, if in your car, if it's connected, well, it provides 12 volts of power too. It's all regulated, whether it's coming from the car battery, the alternator under the hood, solar panels on the roof, and in my case, by selecting that particular lug to attach the refrigerator to, I'm getting regulated 12 volt power to the refrigerator, which is what you want, because talking to Truck Fridge, when I called them, they said do not connect it to a battery charger. So that's what I did. I checked everything to make sure it's the right power, and there you go. So excuse my wild zany hair. It's windy here today and I just had a shower, so yeah, I'm whacked out. Anyway, the refrigerator, what do I think? I think it's going to be good. It's just now, I just connected it a second ago, so it's already starting to get cold in there. And as time moves on, I think it'll do real well. I'm happy I bought it. They're expensive. But for the amount of space I got, I would have to buy about, I don't know, 3 or 4 portable refrigerators to get that much space. And we all know what those cost nowadays, $400 to $500 a copy. So this doesn't take up any more space than the old refrigerator took up. It's not using up any space in the van whatsoever. Was it worth it? You bet. I give it a double thumbs up. Yes, it was worth it. Would I recommend this to anybody else? Absolutely. Yep. And the company Truck Fridge is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Called them on the phone today, asked a question, got my answer, and I'm hooked up, and I just went sailing right off. I told them that the refrigerator model I had and the fact that it just snuggled right in here, tight as a hand in a glove. I mean, like, perfect. So, anybody that has a Roadtrek with a Dometic refrigerator in it that is giving them trouble or, causing problems, definitely consider one of these fridges as a possible replacement. Now, you will need more things. You will need plenty of battery power, and you will probably want solar power you know, if you don't spend a lot of time plugged in someplace. And for me, it has to be solar power because I'm going to be places where there is no power. There are no facilities. That's why I have a self-contained box here to drive around. So I don't need any of those facilities that somebody else is providing, that I'm winding up having to pay for. I already bought my facilities. They're right here, inside the Roadtrek. So, and you folks out there that have Roadtreks, same thing. You people that have done build outs or that kind of thing, you've taken care of figuring out your own needs as far as services go for your particular purposes. Refrigeration is something we all have in common, and this is a good way to handle that problem. So I hope this video has been helpful, and that anybody that has any questions, leave a comment. As you know, I comment on your comments. I'll answer your questions if they're in your comments in the form of a question. So that's it. I hope this video was helpful. It's more of a review than a video. My review is going to be ongoing. This is installment 1. Installment 2 will be a week down the road with the truck fridge, and following that I probably won't say much more until maybe a month or 3 months or 6 months. Anyway, it'll be ongoing. Periodically I'll update people, and you know, if I find things that complement it, I'll do videos about that too, and maybe incorporate it into a ongoing down the road review. So that's it till the next video. If this one was helpful, give it a thumbs up, or you can give it 2 thumbs up. Well, I don't think you can do that. Anyway, give it a thumbs up. If you think this video would help somebody else, please share it with them. And as always, you know this one, comment as you see fit. Till the next video, see you later.